So actually, it's very difficult to understand the depths of either scripture or Krishna's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, or even the Vaishnava culture. Vaishnava culture is deep. Krishna's glories are deep. Krishna's qualities are deep. The scriptural principles are deep. The heart of an acharya is deep. So there is unlimited depth in this oceanic in aspects of bhakti yoga. But let's try to go as deep as possible in 1 hour. So as far as scriptures are concerned, they are very expansive. Bhagavad Gita, which is relatively quite small compared to many other scriptures, that has only 700 shlokas, while many other Puranas have thousands of shlokas. Still, Bhagavad Gita is very deep. Although so many people have been trying to study and understand Bhagavad Gita uh, since more than 5,000 years, still there is a long way to go in our understanding of Gita, right? So let us see how we can dive deep into Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scripture. So many times diving deep is understood to be understanding the finer meanings of the grammar, the words of the scriptures, or getting deep into the grammatical analysis or linguistic analysis, or even philosophical analysis, or the historical significance. Yeah, that's diving deep, definitely. You can go deep into karma, deep into jnana, deep into dhyana, deep into bhakti, and understanding the depth of Krishna's presentation. But apart from what the statements mean, literally, we should understand the emotions of the person who is making the statements. That is really diving deep. So Krishna's words are very profound in Bhagavad Gita. For example, Krishna spoke so many things and the words are very profound. They're definitely very deep. You can do deep linguistic analysis and grammatical analysis with the Nirukti dictionary, this dictionary, that dictionary, and then go deep into it. And philosophically also. However, what are the emotions of Krishna? Let's dive deep into Krishna's heart. Especially in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, Krishna reveals his heart. So if you go deep into Krishna's heart, he, when he describes the simplicity of Bhakti Yoga through Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam shloka, we can understand how deep is the simplicity of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti doesn't need so many qualifications. We don't need to be very wealthy. We don't have to be very scholarly. We don't have to be very popular or famous to perform devotional service. Even with a little leaf or a flower or a fruit or little water, we can please Krishna completely and thoroughly. Okay. So bhakti is not a complicated process, it's a very simple process, right? But to understand that, understand the heart of Krishna, we need to come out of our complicated mentalities. Okay, that's why we find it very difficult. How can bhakti be so simple? I offer tulsi leaf. Is it bhakti? Yeah, it is. When we have that simplicity of devotion and when we have that sincerity of purpose. Okay. Then Krishna also says, Ananyaschintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Krishna said that you just have to always think of me, Ananyas Chintayanto mam, without any distractions in your mind, without deviating your mind towards unnecessary objects. You just focus on me. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I will take care of you. I will take care of whatever you need. I will supply whatever you need, and I will preserve whatever you have. Okay. So now this statement, Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, literally is very simple statement. I'll supply whatever you need. I will preserve whatever you have. That's a simple understanding of the statement, but it's very Krishna has a deep meaning behind the statement. I will supply whatever you want means whatever you want, you will not supply. Whatever you require for intensifying your relationship with Krishna, only those things Krishna will supply. When Krishna said, I preserve whatever you have, that does not mean devotees will not have any property losses or health losses or age losses and then beauty losses, this or that. So whatever is required for your bhakti, I will retain it. Whatever is unnecessary for your bhakti, I will take it away from you also. You're a wealthy person. If wealth is an obstacle in your bhakti, Krishna will take it away. He will not preserve it. You may desire wealth, but if Krishna thinks that giving wealth to this person will distract him from bhakti, Krishna will not give it. Krishna will not give it. Krishna will not retain it if it is unfavorable. Okay, so there's a depth in the statement. So Krishna's intentions are deep. For example, in the later shlokas, Krishna says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. Krishna said, Apichet suduracharo. Sudurachara means extremely sinful person. Okay. Even if a person commits extremely abominable sinful activities, bhajate mamananya bhak. If they worship me, if they serve me, bhajate mam, ananya bhagman, without having someone else as object of worship, if they keep me as object of worship, then sadhureva samantavya, I consider that person sadhu. Okay. So one may think that, oh, even if I do mistakes, if I perform bhakti, if I chant Hare Krishna, that's sufficient. We may think like that. Right? We may take an external, superficial or superficial meaning of it. Probably we may interpret the literary meaning of it to suit our own preference to stick to our anarthas while performing bhakti. But there's a depth to the statement. What is that? When a devotee accidentally commits a sin, unintentionally does a mistake, involuntarily, circumstantially, incidentally makes a mistake, I will forgive those mistakes. I will accommodate such devotees. But if somebody deliberately does a mistake in a premeditated way and intentionally, not circumstantially, intentionally commits a mistake, thinking that my bhakti, my chanting, my reading, my worship will protect me, then Krishna will do the needful to teach a lesson to such a devotee. Right? So we need to go deep into the meanings by studying Shastra, by studying the purports of Acharyas. So the shloka may be just 4 lines, Anushtup Chandaha, in 32 syllable shloka is finished. Okay. But that 4-line shloka or 2-line shloka can have 4-page or 2-page commentary explaining the depth of these 4 statements, these 4 lines. Right? So now you read more acharyas, will get more perspectives. Okay. You read more books, then you will get more perspectives. You hear more from Vaishnavas, you will get deeper perspectives of this. But again, while trying to deeply explore the multiple meanings of a shloka, we should not just get lost in gathering multiple perspectives and meanings. We should understand the essence of it. That is depth. Right? So, firstly, initially there is a superficial meaning. So we become acquainted with that meaning. That's basic level. Then you read purports, you get a deeper meaning. That's you're diving deep into it. But in our attempts to dive deep and deep and deep, by studying so many books, understanding so many explanations, Bahushastra, Bahuvakya, Chitta Brahmahai, mind will become bewildered. Then we'll miss the essence. Getting right? In the first cut, we'll get a superficial understanding. We may think it is essential understanding, but it is superficial understanding, right? When we are not experienced sufficiently. Okay. Then we dive deep into Acharya's commentaries and Sanskrit commentaries you will hear, and then you will also hear from multiple devotees. Then we may get little lost in all these explanations, and we may miss the essence. So diving deep goes beyond understanding the literary superficial meanings of the Shastra, and also it involves distilling the essence of elaborate explanations without getting lost there, right? Then we get the real distilled essence and actionable practice that we need to implement, we need to adopt in our lives, right? So diving deep is not just exploring more and more explanations for scriptural statements only to increase our false pride that I know so much. If we know so much, if there is no humility, what's the point of knowing so much? That's the whole point, right? So knowledge that induces pride in us is actually ignorance. But knowledge that brings humility in us is real knowledge, and it is realization. Gnan accompanied by Vinaya is Vignan. But the Gnan accompanied by Ahankar is Agnan. Ahankar plus Gnan is Agnan. Vinaya plus Gnan is Vignan. So we want to, when you are aspiring to dive deep into scriptures, so better convert knowledge into realization. Convert theoretical knowledge into practical realization, and not just accumulating so much of knowledge, not carrying the burden of knowledge. So we are not supposed to be bharavahis, we are supposed to be saragrahis. Saragrahi is an essence seeker, bharavahi is a burden carrier. When a housefly enters a garden, housefly dives deep into the garden, deep into the pathways, deep into the forest, deep into all the flowers and plants and leaves and twigs and gazebos and benches and people, and diving deep into their ears and noses also, bothering all these people. So if a housefly may just dive deep into the garden, bothering so many people, not adding any value to one's own adventures, right? And ultimately ends up in a garbage pit, exploring deep into the garbage pit. Where is nectar here? But what does a honeybee do? Housefly does this way, diving deep into the garden only to end up in garbage pit. And what does the honeybee do? It goes into the garden, checks out. There are flowers and leaves and trees and gazebos, but honeybee understands so many things are there, but my focus should be on the nectar, on the honey in this flower. Let me go and dive deep there, dive deep into the essence, right? Diving deep is not just an ambitious exploration of this material world, and not an ambitious exploration of even the Vedic scriptures also, right? You can explore not to accumulate knowledge, but actually to get essence, extract essence. Don't accumulate knowledge, but extract essence of it and try to put that into practice. Essentially, we need to come to the stage of Krishna Smarana. That is dive deep. Go deep into the essence. Chittam naiva nivartate kshanamapi Sri Krishna padambujan Nindantu priya bandhava gurujana Grihnantu munchantu va Durvadam parighoshayantu manuja vamshe kalankostu va Tadrik prema dharanu raga madhuna Mattayamanam tumi. Rashekar Alvar in the Mukunda Mala Stotra says like this: Chittam naiva nivartate kshanamapi Sri Krishna padambujan. Let my mind not get deviated by anything else other than meditation on Krishna's lotus feet. Right? Other people may comment on me, criticize me, ridicule me, gossip about me. It's okay. Tadrak prema dharanu raga madhuna mattayamanam tumi. Like a bumblebee, like a honeybee, let me relish the essence relish the nectar at Krishna's lotus feet, as long as I'm meditating on Krishna's Nama Rupa Guna Leela and thus relishing and savoring the nectar of Krishna's prema, I will be oblivious towards all the surroundings. So that essential aspect, essence of all scriptures, which is in the form of Krishna consciousness, should be our object of diving deep. So it's not worth diving deep into anything only to end up in carrying a big burden of knowledge, burden of information, without any transformation of heart. Okay. स्मर्तव्यः सततं विष्णोर्विस्मर्तव्यो न जातुचित् सर्वे विधिनिषेधास्युरेतयोरेव किङ्करः. स्मर्तव्यः सततं विष्णो, always remember Krishna. Vismartavyo na jatuchit, never forget him. Sarve vidhi nishedhasyur, the essence of all vidhis and nishedhas, prescriptions and prohibitions, rules and regulations is this one. This is remember Krishna, always remember Krishna. Do Krishna smaranam. Don't do Krishna vismaranam. Don't forget Krishna, but remember Krishna. But yeah, we got this essence. But to appreciate this essence, we need to dive deep into scriptures. You read Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. You read Ambarish Maharaj's pastime. You read Parikshit Maharaj's pastime. You read Kunti Maharani's prayers. And you go deep into Bhishma Stuti. Itimati Rupakalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumni. Like that, you dive deep into these prayers, dive deep into this philosophical episodes of Bhagavatam and many other scriptures, dive deep into Krishna's teachings in Bhagavad Gita. You find this essence. Although essence is given to you, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, that does not mean you stop your Shastric study there. You stop your pursuit of Shravanam Kirtanam there. Oh, Krishna Smaranam, right? Let me just sit and do Smarana constantly. It doesn't work like that. For us to appreciate that essence better, we need to dive deep into the scriptures, trying to enhance our appreciation for that essence, and deeply imbibing that essence and trying to put it in practice, right? Therefore, our Shravanam, our study of scriptures or hearing of scriptures is meant to rejuvenate our commitment to this essence of all scriptures, which is Shravanam, which is Krishna Smarana, right? For us to develop conviction into it, for us to develop enthusiasm for it, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, we need to go deep into scriptures, right? So our commitment to the essential understanding of scriptures becomes much deeper when we dive deep into scriptures. Thus, first you go deep into scriptures, understand the essence, and to imbibe that essence, you start going deep into the scriptures, right? So thus, every time you are reading a new shloka, every time you are reading a new book, every time you are reading a new chapter in a book, whether you read Chaitanya Charitamrita or Chaitanya Bhagavat or Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or some other Vaishnava literature, ultimately all that should rejuvenate your enthusiasm for always remembering Krishna, never forget Krishna. When you say, I always remember Krishna, what aspect of Krishna are you remembering? One is holy name, but he has so many qualities. The more books you read, the more you are exposed to Krishna's qualities. Okay? Provided we read it proper consciousness. The more we hear from Vaishnavas, the more we are equipped with an understanding of Krishna's Nama Rupa Guna Leela. That will enhance our absorption in this essence, which is Krishna Smaran, right? Thus, let's dive deep into Shastra. Let's dive deep into this limbs of the different limbs of bhakti, only to become more and more Krishna conscious, right? So we understand the essence and we explore deep into the details, again to recommit to the essence. That is real depth. So when you go deep into the ocean, and just finding some, some bacteria there, or some fish is there, different kinds of species there, or some shells there, and some sea plants, and some drowned remains of some ships, or some skulls, or some rib cages, or some skeletons. So that is not diving deep into the ocean. Find jewels, find pearls, dive deep into the ocean to find the jewels, right? See essence. Okay. So similarly, when we are diving deep into the scriptures, then we need to seek that essence of Krishna Smarana to enhance our Krishna consciousness. So these are a few thoughts about diving deep into Shastra, either through Sravanam or Pathanam. But our diving deep into Shastra is not sufficiently complete when we don't back it up, then we don't support it with Vaishnava Seva. Okay. If you read the seventh chapter of third canto of Bhagavatam, Vidura said, um, he said that दुरापाह्यल्प तपसा सेवा वैकुंठवर्त्मसु यत्रोपगीयते नित्यं देव देवो जनार्दनः. He said, Durapahi alpa tapasa. People who are meager in their austerity cannot get an opportunity to serve devotees. Okay. Service to devotees is very rare privilege. Oh, Maitreya Muni, you taught me so many principles about Jiva Tattva and Ishvara Tattva and many other technical subjects. But I will be able to internalize them, absorb them, realize them only when I render service to pure devotees like you. So, if we are going deep into Shastra, understanding so many finer nuances of Shastric statements, and maybe sufficiently getting enthused to remember Krishna, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. But if you are missing the point of Vaishnava Seva, we need to question our understanding, how much we have understood. It is service to Vaishnavas that helps us remember Krishna better, that helps us realize all that we are hearing and studying better, right? So, our understanding of Krishna consciousness is not just a product of our Swadhyaya, it is also a product of our chanting the holy names, performing our sadhana nicely, rendering services to devotees nicely, and also exhibiting an exemplary behavior and conduct in our dealings with other Vaishnavas in the association of devotees. Exhibiting that proper sadachar in the Vaishnava Sangha we are living in, while performing our sadhana well and seva well, will help us to go deep into Swadhyaya. Right? Thus, all 5 S are important. Right? Sadhana, Sadachar, Seva, Sangha, Swadhyaya, all 5 are important. Our understanding of Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness or Shastra is not just a product of Swadhyaya, it is also product of our Sangha, product of our Sadhana, product of our Seva, and product of our Sadachar. When we deal nicely with other devotees, respectfully with other devotees, their hearts get impressed with our Vaishnava culture. They become pleased, they become satisfied with us. And the satisfied heart of a devotee showers profuse blessings upon us. Okay. When I happen to satisfy another devotee with my seva or sadachar, when the devotee is pleased, that pleasure of a devotee will act as a blessing upon me, and then I can understand Shastra better. Right? I can understand, I can make best out of my Swadhyaya. I mean, sit and study scripture. I don't understand properly. When I have displeased the devotee, another devotee, what will I understand? Krishna is displeased. By displeasing another devotee, Krishna is displeased. And Krishna took the form of Shastra, and you are trying to access Krishna in Shastra. Krishna says, I will not reveal myself to you because you have offended my devotee. When you have offended my devotee, how will I reveal my secrets to you? What you are understanding is only grammatical analysis. What you are understanding is only some linguistic meanings, superficial, superficial meanings, right? You are not understanding the depth of my heart by studying Shastra. Krishna says like, because you have displeased the heart of my devotee. I'll give you one example. Durvasa Muni, he offended Ambarish Maharaj. You know that story. I'll not repeat that story to save time. So Durvasa Muni went to Vaikuntha and he said, "Oh Lord, you are Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. You are well-wisher of Brahmanas. And here is your devotee Ambarish Maharaj who offended a great Brahmana sannyasi like me. So are you not affected by it? You are a protector of Brahmanas." He said, in the name of fulfilling his Ekadashi vow, he disrespected a Brahmana guest. You tell me, oh Lord, who is more important? Fulfilling Brahmanas, which is more important? Fulfilling or pleasing, respecting a Brahmana guest, or fulfilling this Ekadashi Vrata? Which is more important? You tell me. Then the Lord said that first thing is, I am Brahmanya Devaya, correct, but Vaishnavas are more dear to me than Brahmanas. That's clear. And Brahmana also is a qualified Brahmana, not like you, who become unnecessarily offended for a small thing. Okay. First, you please understand the finer nuances of Shastra. According to Shastra, drinking water is like breaking fast and not breaking fast also. And I, sitting in the heart of my devotee Ambarish Maharaj, inspired Ambarish Maharaj to understand this finer nuance of Shastra and accept water before he fed you. Okay. Thus, he perfectly honored Ekadashi Vrata and his Brahmana guest also. He has this deeper understanding of scriptural injunctions, but you don't have because you are very proud. You may be well read. You may be a sannyasi and he is a grahastha. You may be a Brahman and he is a kshatriya. You may be apparently a renunciant and he is like a king. That doesn't matter. He has better understanding of Shastra than you have because he's more connected to me. Right? So because you misbehaved with a devotee, you have not understood Shastra. That drinking water is breaking fast and not breaking fast also. This much you don't understand. Now, Varuna Dev's assistant, he arrested Nanda Maharaj once. He thought that Nanda Maharaj is taking bath in Yamuna river at a wrong time, inappropriate time. He doesn't know proper calculations and all. Okay. He arrested. Then actually Acharyas say that this Varuna Dev's assistant doesn't understand because Ekadashi, Dwadashi parent time keeps changing. Every Dwadashi you don't break your fast at the same time, right? So you have different time zones. So that day it was a little early and Nanda Maharaj is taking bath in Yamuna river was appropriate at that time. But that finer detail, Varuna Dev's assistant doesn't know. He unnecessarily arrested Varuna Dev, Nanda Maharaj. Then Krishna went and taught a lesson. Now, finer nuances of Shastras also we will be able to understand only when we respect devotees. Okay, and even if you don't understand the finer nuances, this kind of details of Shastra, that's fine. We get blessings by respecting devotees, right? Of course, I'm not highlighting on understanding parent time, this and that. That's not the point. The main thing is when we have good behavior, good conduct, respectful attitude towards Vaishnavas, we receive their blessings. And their blessings help us understand Shastra better than understanding Shastra with our own intellectual efforts. Okay. Thus, when you say diving deep, it's not just diving deep into Shastra, it is also diving deep into a proper understanding of Vaishnava culture. Understand the bigger picture, understand the higher picture, or understand the deeper perspective to imbibe the essence of Shastra better. Right? So when we genuinely respect other Vaishnavas and genuinely value their contributions, genuinely value their services, then actually we are diving deep into the process of bhakti. So bhakti is not just in rendering this much amount of service to Krishna. Krishna doesn't see the magnitude of our service. Krishna sees the attitude behind service. If I have contributed so much, if I have accomplished so much in my service to Krishna under the umbrella of service to Krishna, but if I have not earned the blessings of other Vaishnavas, if I have not understood the finer nuances of Vaishnava culture, then I have not actually gone deep into my practice of Bhakti Yoga, right? It's not just accomplishing and then getting more feathers on the cap. When we try to accumulate more and more feathers on the cap, we'll be buried under the cap. Right? So is it worth being buried under a cap which has become so heavy with 100 feathers or 1,000 feathers? Okay, sometimes heavy feathers are generally light, but when we are too ambitious to accomplish so much at the cost of compromising on our Vaishnava etiquettes, Vaishnava culture, respect towards other Vaishnavas, uh, then we are buried under that cap. So when you dive deep, you can happily walk with the cap or without cap. But when we are too ambitious for the cap and feathers on the cap, we may be invisible because we are buried under the cap. So it's not just about understanding so much intellectually. It's not just about accomplishing so much practically. It is about uh, attaining so much mercy by our proper Vaishnava demeanor, Vaishnava culture, and developing Vaishnava qualities, right? If I become successful in my endeavors or successful in understanding Shastra, but if I am not grateful to all the people who taught me Shastra, if I'm not grateful to all the people who assisted me and helped me in doing that service, and if I look down upon those people who have not accomplished so much like me, then am I successful in my service? That success is actually a failure, right? So success that makes us look down upon people who are not successful like us, or makes us ungrateful to people who assisted us in attaining success, is actually not success, it's a failure, right? So the real success in spiritual life is in maintaining the appropriate mood of a Vaishnava by imbibing the Vaishnava qualities as taught by Krishna in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam. So the success of spiritual life is in imbibing this Vaishnava character and then doing whatever we are doing as a part of our sadhana bhakti. Mood is more important. Attitude is more important than magnitude. Okay. And for example, chanting, diving deep into chanting. Of course, I'm nowhere close to the qualification required to glorify holy name. I'm still struggling to chant properly. However, let me just at least share the quote unquote theoretical understanding. Okay. So diving deep into japa does not mean chanting more and more rounds. Of course, 16 basic minimum we have to do because we have taken a vow, and we can increase the number whenever it is possible for us, practical for us. But it's not about the count. More than count, it's the mood. Once you complete the minimum count, which is the bare minimum that we need to do, it's about the mood. So while chanting, okay, let me share one example, share one incident that happened. One day, in our college hostel, some 14, 15 years back when I was in college, like we were chanting, one devotee wanted water, okay? Another devotee volunteered. All of us were chanting together. So one devotee said, I need water. Then the water is over in the bottle. So one devotee who is chanting volunteered, I will get water. So while chanting Hare Krishna, he went with the bottle and then filled the bottle and came back and gave. The chanting session is over. One of our senior devotees asked that, yeah, water is required. Then why did you get up in the middle of chanting to get water? Well, actually, he's appreciating that although you have interrupted the chanting to serve that Vaishnava, that's great. he is actually appreciating. But one more point he highlighted, that while chanting, you brought water. So how is it that you sacrificed so much? Then the devotee said, anyways, I chant spaced out rounds. Anyways, don't chant properly. At least I'll do some Vaishnava seva while chanting. Uh, then this devotee, senior devotee said, see, chanting while bringing water is okay. But bringing water while chanting, you need to question yourself, right? Basically, you want to finish your rounds. You want to finish your 16 quota. You don't want to chant any extra rounds. It's not that you are chanting extra names while bringing water. Because you are so bored while chanting, you are unable to focus on your chanting. You are unable to dive deep into your chanting. So you added a physical activity so that you get some kind of relaxation for the mind and some kind of other things. Your mind is getting exhausted while chanting. Otherwise, you can chant while bringing water, but you are bringing water while chanting. Then this devotee kind of, yeah, you become little thoughtful. Will you chant that one extra round that you have taken? No, I'm not planning to chant. Maybe I'll chant now. So why I share this incident is that uh, when we chant, we are basically trying to utilize our mind to focus on Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita language, it is Mayyeva mana adhatsva, Mayi buddhim niveshaya. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, you engage your mind in me. If you cannot do so, Mayi buddhim niveshaya, engage your intelligence in me. If you cannot do that, if you are not capable of doing that also, then you come to Abhyasa Rupa Bhakti, which is engaging your senses in Krishna's service. Of course, all three are required. Bhakti means to engage body, mind, words, intelligence, everything in Krishna's service. But Krishna said amongst all three, Smaranatmika Bhakti means engaging mind in Krishna's service, connecting with Krishna through emotions, through feelings is on the topmost platform. Then Mananatmika Bhakti or Mayi Buddhim Niveshaya, engaging your buddhi or intelligence in Krishna's service is on a second platform. Means you understand Krishna is great intellectually. That's on a second platform. But you actually emotionally develop a bonding with Krishna. You love Krishna. Mentally, you are having that emotions for Krishna. That's on a higher platform. So, Mayyeva Manadhatva is on a higher platform. Mayi Buddhim Nivesha is a little lesser. Then you are engaging your senses in Krishna's service. Abhyasa Rupa Bhakti. That is on a much, much lesser platform. Right? Although we need to do all three, but when we are working, we may not think of Krishna. We may understand Krishna is great, but we may not have love for Krishna. But when we love Krishna, we naturally know Krishna, we work for Krishna. Right? Therefore, love includes working for the beloved and knowing the beloved. But knowing a person or working for a person may not include love for the person. Therefore, Smaranatmika Bhakti or Mayyeva Manadhatsva or connecting with Krishna through emotional bonding is on a higher platform than just intellectually understanding Krishna's greatness or physically working for Krishna. Clear, right? So now, if I have to chant 10 hours in a day, I may find exhausted. If I have to read Bhagavatam or hear Bhagavatam 10 hours in a day, intelligence is more engaging. I may be a little more excited to do that compared to chanting in my initial stages of bhakti. But when I have to do physical service for 10 hours, although it's more exhausting physically, but I find it's more absorbing. Okay, because mind and intelligence are not functioning, body is functioning, which is more natural for a conditioned soul. Right? So there's physical service, many people find it much easier. Intellectual engagement in Krishna's tattva or some planning for Krishna, that's a little more exhausting. And mentally connecting with Krishna through chanting, that's even more exhausting. Right? That's the general pattern that is found in many struggling sadhakas, right? So now, when we are trying to chant, we are trying to cultivate that emotional bonding with Krishna, diving deep into our emotional connection with Krishna. At that time, my intelligence has to keep quiet. Earlier, you have already already acquired that intellectual understanding that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhakti Yoga is the supreme path. Chanting the holy names of Krishna will help me revive my connection with Krishna. That much you intellectually understood. With that intellectual understanding, you sit for chanting, and now this is a time for your emotional investment in Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Isn't it? Right? At that time, where I have to invest my emotions in Krishna through chanting, if I bring in my intelligence and making plans, what service I will do today, and if I allow my intelligence to go everywhere, and mind also wander everywhere other than Krishna, then actually I'm not being very, I'm not going deep into my chanting. Okay. Then let's get into service. When I'm chanting, whether I'm thinking of service or intellectually planning for service or actually physically doing some service, I'm just getting into the mode of an accomplisher of service. Chanting is the time where you understand, or you express your understanding of your subordinate position in front of Krishna. Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord, and I am your humble menial servant. You are the master, and I am servant. You are the enjoyer, I am the enjoyed. You are Vibhu, I am Anu. You are superior, I am subordinate. So I am expressing that understanding, and I am expressing my desire to embrace that emotion of being a servant of Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. While I am doing it, if I want to do some physical activity, then I may be embracing the other mentality of being a doer. So when we are doing service, definitely we are acting as a servant of Krishna. But how much are we embracing the emotion of being a servant of Krishna? It may not happen, especially in the initial stages. But chanting is a wonderful reminder for us to understand that we are servants of Krishna and to imbibe that emotion. So while performing services, I may think I'm a doer. Or while understanding Shastra, I may think I'm a great philosopher or scholar or Pandit, right? But let me keep aside this doer consciousness and Pandit consciousness, philosopher consciousness aside. Let me imbibe that consciousness of being a dependent on Krishna's mercy. Or someone who is aspiring to develop an emotional bonding with Krishna while chanting. So let that identity, let that agenda be more prominent while chanting, rather than just exercising my intelligence and senses more and more, right? So that's diving deep into chanting. It's time for me to remind myself that I'm a subordinate to Krishna. So we may do that 1.5 2 hours in a day, say 16 rounds, that much time it will take. Okay. And rest of the day you engage your intelligence, engage your senses in Krishna Seva, right? That can happen during the rest of the day. But this is time for prayer. This is time for us to remember that I am a servant of Krishna. I am not an accomplisher. I am not a scholar. I am not a doer. So the doership mentality is kind of mitigated, or it's kind of eliminated, or it is supposed to be eliminated while chanting Hare Krishna. So then it's time for us to remember or remind ourselves that we are instruments in Krishna's hands. We are not independent doers of whatever we are doing, right? So when emergencies are there, fine, we understand. But many times we equate emergencies with distractions. While chanting, my mind is getting distracted. I am thinking that some other activity is more important for me than chanting the holy names of Krishna. Is that an emergency or is that a distraction? We need to first analyze it. We need to go deep into this thought. Am I being distracted or am I attending to an emergency? The restless mind of an average sadhaka often instigates him or her to barely keep the commitment of 16 rounds, but not actually dive deep into this, not actually absorb in it, instead trying to do some multitasking in a mode of accomplishment, in a sense of accomplishment. Okay. And an unsteady mind and a fickle mind a mind that is filled with doership mentality, that cannot actually differentiate or discriminate between a distraction and an emergency. We think it's an important service. Of course, it is important, but is it important for me to do during that 5, 6, 7 minutes of that chanting one round only? That much discrimination a sadhaka should have. Then we are trying, at least trying to dive deep into japa. Okay. Even service-related thoughts that come during japa, they're good thoughts, they're spiritual thoughts, but even those service-related thoughts also could be a potential distraction, making us feel that we are doer. Actually, we may do a lot of service, but chanting helps us do those services in the mood of a servant. We can do some service to Krishna, an activity meant for the pleasure of Krishna, in the mode of doership also, in the mode of a humble, menial, dependent servant also. And when the service is successful, then we give that credit to Krishna. Krishna, I chanted, and you have empowered me to do this service. We give credit to Krishna. But when we don't chant nicely, we tend to claim credit for our services, and we tend to think ourselves to be doers, and we may not think that we have done that service only because of Krishna's empowerment, Krishna's desire. It's time for us to remember these things while chanting, right? So we can just give up this doership mentality. Kartaham iti manyati. An average sadhaka thinks oneself, ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyati. I am the doer. Okay. So that may lead to dwelling on service-related thoughts even during japa. And the entire japa time could become a plan-making session or a brainstorming session to deal with the challenges that we are getting in services, right? So how do I overcome this challenge during the service? So we may think like that. It's good to do it, but why during japa time, right? So we can go deep into japa. And that dependence consciousness and identifying oneself as a servant of Krishna during japa, that helps us dive deep into our own emotional bonding with Krishna, discover that emotional connection with Krishna. So let's keep aside all these upadhis. Na ham vipro na cha narapatir na pi vaishyo na shudro na ham varni na cha grihapatir no vanastho yatirva किंतु प्रोद्यन्निखिल परमानंद पूर्णामृतांधेर गोपी भर्तु पद कमलयोर दास दासानुदासः. So when we dive deep into Shastra, when we dive deep into making more and more friendships with devotees in Vaishnava Sangha, when we dive deep into developing these different aspects of Vaishnava character, of cultivating these qualities of humility, respect, gratitude, satisfaction, tolerance, equanimity, etc. And when we dive deep into our own chanting of the holy names of Krishna, we need to ultimately come to this essence of Krishna Smarana in the mode of being a servant of Krishna, right? Gopi bhartu padakamalayur dasa dasanudasaha. Because wherever we are diving deep, there is a possibility of developing a new upadhi. I dive deep into Shastra, I embrace this upadhi as a scholar, as a philosopher. Okay, I dive deep into relationships with people, then I consider myself a PR manager. Yeah, my relationships are good. I can get things done through people, right? So I dive deep into japa, then I start identifying myself with that so much that I may ignore other things. So sometimes people may want to constantly chant. That may not be an expression of devotion. That may be an expression of escaping from services or thinking oneself better than others because I am spending more time in japa and not these trivial things that these people are doing. Okay, so Maya tricks us in such a way that whatever devotional activity we are doing also, Maya can induce some pride and distraction and kind of accomplishment consciousness in that also, right? So chanting constantly is great. Serving constantly is great. Studying Shastra and understanding all these things is great. But we do all these things, and going through yatras is great. Doing Vaishnava Seva is great. But while doing all these things, if we cannot identify ourselves as servants of Krishna and come to the point of Krishna Smaranam and constantly being Krishna conscious, then we have missed the point, right? So my Shastric study should not make me think a great intellectual person and others are fools. My constant chanting of Krishna's name should not make me think that I am doing the most essential activity. 99.9% of my spiritual advancement is dependent on chanting. Therefore, 99.9% of all my activities are centered on chanting only. I will not do any other services. Okay. So that too much of what is that called? Imbalance in our execution of prescribed practice of sadhana bhakti can make us proud of identifying oneself with a particular limb too much while compromising on other limbs and essentially compromising on our own Krishna consciousness and Krishna Smaranam, right? So we spoke, I'm sorry, I don't know where I started and where I went, and I just spoke a few things. I had other classes, other things also, but I hope that this few reflections that I was sharing with all of you helps me dive deep into whatever sadhana things that I am doing, essentially coming to the mood of being a servant of Krishna and not being an accomplisher or performer or doer, etc. So these are a few thoughts on the topic that's given by the organizers of this class. Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful session, diving deep to the unlimited depth of the simplicity of devotional service. Very nicely you explained to us. Like sadhana is also required, sadhu sangha, but always giving importance to seva, sadachara. Thank you so much. That in a very lucid way you explained to us that how you be a essence seeker. Always, whatever you do, it should be accompanied by humility. That is wisdom. Then about the chanting, it is so practical that our mind, whenever we chant, it just wanders. And how you said that even the seva you should not think about. You should give that much time to the chanting. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And if time permits, Prabhu, can we take up few questions?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Purnanandini Mataji, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much for the session. I have two questions. One is you were talking about how we have to respect Vaishnavas in the first part of your talk. Okay. Now, being Grihasthas and a lot of us in the practicing session of mode of Krishna consciousness, we deal with a lot of people at home or at work or with relatives. Now, should this respect and then all this extended to everybody, or should it be restricted only to the devotees, is my question.
Sakala sammana korite shakati dehanata jata jata. Every living being and every non-living thing also has to be respected. But how much respect we should give depends on their own positions. Okay. So we need to learn the art of respecting people appropriately according to their position, their qualification. The company CEO deserves certain respect, and the security guard deserves certain respect, and a clerk or a general manager, they deserve certain respect, and sannyasi deserves certain respect. Normal Vaishnava deserves certain respect, and children deserve certain respect. So we need to learn the art of respecting different individuals, whether they are devotees or not yet devotees. Potentially everybody is a devotee. So whether they are practicing devotional service or not, we should learn the art of respecting people according to their position. Appropriate respect we need to give. Same amount of respect we may not give to everybody, but appropriate amount of respect we need to give. And how do we get that strength? How do we get that discernment, discretion? How much respect I should give? You can give more than what they deserve, but not less than what they deserve. That's like a basic rule. But we get that strength to respect people appropriately to the degree we respect Guru, to the degree we respect the instructions of Guru. Sakala sammana korite shakati dehanata jata jata. Sakala means everyone. Sammana means respect. Korite shakati. The ability to offer respects to everyone comes by our own affiliation to Guru's instructions. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya. Guru will give us mercy to the degree we are obedient to the instructions of Guru. To that degree, we are empowered to respect everyone appropriately. Does it make sense, Mataji?
Yes, yes, a lot of sense. Thank you very much, Prabhu. And the other aspect of chanting. Yes.
Mataji, Mataji, we'll restrict to one question. If there's time, we'll come back to you for the second question, Mataji. Is it okay?
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. And we'll also give preference to those whose videos are on. So, Suma Mataji, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Dandavat pranams, Prabhuji, to associate with you. And I just wanted to ask you, Prabhuji, how you get the inspiration to write so much? And I got the answer in the class itself. And my question is that, Prabhuji, how to differentiate between our mental speculation and realizations, Prabhuji, which we always make mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Very good question. When our realizations or thoughts are in line with Shastra, are in line with the teachings of Guru Parampara, then they are realizations. If they are not in line with the teachings of scriptures and sadhus and Guru, then they are speculations. Okay. So for us to understand whether it's a realization or a speculation, we need to know Shastra. We need to study Shastra. We need to hear from Guru. We need to hear from sadhus. We need to observe the activities of great devotees, Vaishnavas. So then we can evaluate. Then we can self-evaluate ourselves and our thought patterns and our realizations, our desires, our emotions. And of course, that's like self-evaluation. But you can also evaluate them by taking assistance from a trusted devotee. You can go to some senior or some friend who knows you nicely. You can share your realizations with them and ask them, give them the liberty to correct you when we go wrong. Take their assistance to evaluate your thoughts and come to an understanding whether it's a realization or a speculation. Does it make sense, Mataji? Next
Sudha Mataji, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat pranam. Very glad to be in this class with you, Prabhu. I just had one doubt regarding samskaras, about whether samskaras have only a positive connotation, or do they have in the sense, have a negative connotation only, or do they have a positive connotation as well? And second is, how do we get rid of samskaras? Like, we know that it is harmful for devotional service. It is harming us in devotional service, but we don't know how to get rid of it, because every time it's like what Arjuna says, every time you're forced to commit that same mistake, even though you know it's wrong. So is it because of some offenses which we're doing?
Okay. When you say samskaras, the word is used in multiple contexts, and it means multiple things when multiple people are using in multiple contexts. Traditionally, samskaras are purificatory ceremonies. Okay, we have this Garbhadan samskara, Namakaran samskara, and all that. They are like purificatory ceremonies, Vedic traditional ceremonies. They have their own role to play in the life of a human being, and they are recommended practices. Okay. But the word samskaras is also used to indicate impressions that we carry, bad samskaras, or another word which is used is vasanas. Okay, so the impressions that we carry lifetime after lifetime, vasanas. Okay, many times we use samskaras to indicate the vasanas, but let me not just go by the technical word samskara. Let me just use this word vasanas or impressions for a simpler discussion. So we accumulate a lot of impressions when our senses come in contact with sense objects. The mind is accumulating an impression. When my tongue tastes a delicious item, then a positive impression is stored in the mind. When my tongue tastes a very terrible item, okay, which is not delicious at all, which is messed up, the recipe is messed up, then I get a negative impression. Or it may be nicely made, but I somehow did not have taste for it. I get a negative impression, right? Like that, when my senses are interacting with sense objects, when I am interacting with different people, my emotions are getting affected. With some people, I get a very unpleasant experience. So I get a negative impression about that person. Okay. Or when I go to some place, I get a unpleasant experience. I have a negative impression about the place, about the person, about the people, about the things, about the situations. So we have been accumulating all these impressions for lifetimes together. Okay. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them are dovetailable in bhakti. Some of them are very harmful to bhakti. Right? So whatever is unfavorable to our bhakti, just reject it. Okay. And some of them are favorable to bhakti, we can accept it. For example, I have a habit of hearing, say, classical music, for example. I have some affiliation or taste for it. So when holy name is being sung in that music, I may relish it. That's fine. Maybe initial attraction towards holy name may be the tune, but I'm somehow or the other connecting to Krishna. That's why it is beneficial. But somebody is addicted to meat eating, for example. Okay, that has to be avoided by all means. Okay. I don't know if that answers your question, Mataji. Does it make
But
sense?
how do you get rid of it? Because it's a
We
very
can, yes, we can get rid of it grossly by associating with devotees who are unaffected by those impressions or who are not influenced by those impressions. But subtly, some traces of those impressions remain. They will go away slowly, gradually, over a period of time, to the degree we become absorbed in our different elements of sadhana, Sravanam, Kirtanam, chanting, Shastric study, worshipping Krishna, going to Dham. Slowly they will go away. So many times when one comes in contact with the process of Krishna consciousness, one may be able to come to the stage of following four regulative principles faster. Okay, avoiding meat eating, avoiding intoxication, and all that. One can easily take up to these practices maybe in a couple of years only. Right? Oh, I used to smoke so much, but now I'm not smoking at all. Last 2-3 years, I did not smoke because I came to Krishna consciousness. So people can say that easily. So gross habits, one can just get rid of them faster. But there are subtle traces of envy, jealousy, pride, some lusty desires. One may not act upon it, but those desires are still there, impressions are still there. It will take some time for them to go. Subtle things, they'll go. Dressing style, they may change. But inside desires, they may still remain. So by bhakti, they will go. That's our hope.
okay, Prabhu.
Okay,
It
Mataji.
actually is like it affects bhakti also, and so because of that, we find it difficult to practice bhakti properly. But at the same time, we have to do bhakti more in order to remove those samskaras, vasanas.
Actually, one practical and actionable tip that I can share is, let's try to keep ourselves physically in the association of devotees as much as possible. Because all these impressions haunt us, torment us, trouble us when we are alone. When I'm sitting idle in a room, nobody is there. Those past impressions and those thoughts will keep bothering me. But when I'm in the middle of 10 other devotees, I may not be speaking Krishna Katha or something like that, but I'm just with the devotees. Okay. So just their mere presence will help me not to dwell on those bad thoughts or past impressions so much. Does it make sense? Does it work? So as much as possible, we should try to keep ourselves in the company of devotees, right? Because of COVID, a lot of Zoom association has increased from our comfortable home situations. But I think whenever it is possible for us, if we can physically meet devotees and keep ourselves in the presence of devotees, may not be 1,000 people, at least 2, 3 people, some intimate friends, compatible association. So that will keep us sane. That will keep us protected from being affected by our own past memories and bad thoughts and bad samskaras or bad vasanas we have, as much as possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Madhavi Mataji, Prabhu, would you have some more time? Yeah, like another, say 10, 15 minutes until 11 o'clock we can take. Thank you, Prabhu. Madhavi Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for this nectarious class, Prabhuji. When I heard the topic of deep, I may think like, what does it mean? But basically, you gave the context of all the things starts from japa and scriptural reading and association, everything, how they are coupled with each other. Everything, it was very nice, Prabhu.
Please, Mataji, just go to the question, Mataji. Many are waiting.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, Mataji, sure thing. Prabhu, the question here is like when we are when here the classes are reading, right? Sometimes we are not able to get that remembrance, but when we are actually implementing that way, we are getting some essence. Maybe at least in my case. So how to take that, Prabhu? Like, is it because of our sadhana is not in that way, or we are not going deep, or what is the reason behind that, Prabhu?
I didn't get the question.
No, Prabhu. We are listening, right? We are listening the scriptures, and at the same time, we are reading also. But most of the time, we don't remember exactly when we try to tell someone else because of that names or that sastric evidences, right? We can't even remember exactly when we try to share to someone. That is that because of we are not, but that essence we are taking and we are thinking like, okay, this is of because of this we are doing. So how to take that, Prabhu?
Yes, that's sufficient. As long as we are sticking to the essence and we are able to implement it in our lives, either gradually, that's sufficient. That's very good. As far as remembrance of details is concerned, some people will be able to remember, some people may not be able to remember. That's fine. And memory and recall, they don't exactly, they don't exactly represent the parameters for one's spiritual advancement. Okay. The real spiritual advancement is made to the degree one is able to apply, demonstrate these principles rather than just memory and recall. From where did I study? 4th page, 6th paragraph, 3rd line of so-and-so volume of so-and-so book. I may not be able to recollect it, right? But what's there, what's mentioned there, I know the essence of it and I speak it in my own words, that's fine. Okay. So memory and recall are like very small parameters of Shastric study. If you can remember, that's great. If you cannot, there's nothing to worry about it. And there's nothing wrong in trying to remember it by repeatedly revisiting it. You forget, oh, well, let me just go back and then recollect. Then you will remember it. That is fine. But if you're unable to remember, that's nothing for us to feel guilty about. It's fine.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Next.
Shilpa Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. No words for your profound association, Prabhu. My question is that when you say that we have to serve Vaishnavas, so how do we do in our practical life? How does one serve Vaishnava?
Like there are so many services available. Either you serve a Vaishnava on a personal plane by understanding what they need. You can feed them prasadam or you can help them when they are sick. So these are like one category of services that you can do on a personal level. Okay. Or you can even share Shastra with them, share your understanding of Shastra with them and help them come to temple. On a personal level you can do. And there are other services that we can do by taking up some official responsibilities in a temple. You can conduct some course, or you can take care of the cooking, you can take care of a department of kitchen, or some DT department, or garland making, or cooking bhoga, or distributing books, or teaching how to chant on beads to the newcomers in the temple. So many services are there. You can either take it officially under the guidance of some senior Vaishnavas or managers or leaders, or you can do it on a personal basis also. Okay. And apart from these two flavors of service, general Vaishnavas and then official services, you have our own service to Guru. So the best service that one can do to Guru is by sincerely trying to follow the Guru's instructions. So Guru gives certain teachings, and when a disciple accepts the teachings and tries to act according to the teachings in one's own life to the best of one's ability, then that is service to Guru. And if Guru specifically gives a particular service, okay, then you can always know from Guru and then do that service also, right? So these are some areas of service. In ISKCON, there is unlimited scope for service. Okay, people
Yes.
only will be overloaded with service. There is no depth of service.
Hare Krishna.
Next question.
Dhanvats.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. So my question is, you said whether it is sadhana, swadhyaya, seva, sadachar, sangha, all of them should enable our dependence on the Lord. So Prabhu, I was just thinking on that. How do we balance? You said we have to have the right balance. And generally it is said, if you don't have taste for chanting, you chant more. At least in terms of quantity, we express our sincerity to the Lord. And the Lord, by His mercy, will give us taste. So how do we make that balance, right? Like you said, the mind connection with Krishna happens maximum through chanting. The rest of the things only help facilitate that chanting process. So how do we make the balance? We have limited time, right? So
Yes. Prabhupada has given a very balanced regimen. And by the way, when I said in chanting, mind is primarily interacting with Krishna, it's an opportunity for us to cultivate our connection with Krishna. That does not mean physical services or understanding Shastra, studying Shastra will not help us cultivate emotions for Krishna. Okay. So in Shastra, intelligence is taking a very significant role, but mind has its role. Senses definitely have their role. Eyes have to see the book at least. And in chanting also other senses are involved. So the hand has to count, tongue has to chant, and ears have to hear. And even physical services also, mind has its role to play. Intelligence has its role to play. But prominently, in chanting, mind takes the precedence, and in Shastric study, intelligence, initial days especially. But once someone is very advanced in bhakti, emotions take precedence when studying Shastra. You know that South Indian Brahmana who was reading Bhagavad Gita, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "Why are you crying?" And South Indian Brahmana said, "My Guru told me to study, therefore I am studying." Secondly, whenever I open Bhagavad Gita, I only remember Krishna playing the role of a chariot driver of Arjuna. Automatically, tears of love just come from my eyes. There, his intelligence is not working, mind is working. Emotions are working more than logic. Logic is an aspect of intelligence, and emotions are aspect of mind. He's developing emotional bonding. So therefore, Shastric study also connects us to Krishna through emotions. But philosophy part, we need some intelligence to understand. Anyways, how do we balance? That's a main question, right? So Prabhupada has given us a regimen to balance all these three. First, maybe around 2 hours in a day, we chant minimum, okay? And there is 1 hour Bhagavatam class practically in every single temple of ISKCON, okay? And whole day is meant for service. So Prabhupada has given us, Smaranatmaka Bhakti in the form of chanting, Mananatmaka Bhakti in the form of Bhagavatam classes and evening Bhagavad Gita class, couple of hours, then whole day physical engagement for service. So when we just follow the regimen given by Acharyas, without cutting corners, as much as possible, balance is automatically achieved. But sometimes what happens is too much service. chanting is compromised, Bhagavatam class, no attendance at all. Sometimes it happens so that you do so much of reading, so much of chanting, service goes in the background, right? So that kind of extremes we should not take. As much as possible, let's try to balance. So there is a couple of hours for chanting, maybe 1 hour you can take out for reading, 1 or 2 hours, whatever is possible practically for you. Rest of the time for service.
So Prabhu, you are saying like Prabhupada, as per Prabhupada's formula, like 2 hours of chanting for 16 rounds and then 1 hour of Bhagavatam study or hearing of Bhagavatam. The rest is seva. That means, does it mean that in initial stages when we engage our senses, then we develop more emotions? Or, a person may just decide that I want to chant more. Say, for example, is there a minimum quota for seva? Like we have a minimum 16 rounds or a minimum...
Qualities cannot be quantified. Okay, as far as time is concerned, we only have 24 hours in a day.
Correct.
In that, some significant amount of time will go for eating, sleeping, and other basic things. Rest of the time, we can organize in such a way that we chant few rounds, we read little Shastra or hear little Shastra, and do some physical service, whatever is practical. So by just trying to distribute our available time, apart from the time that we allocate for self-preservation, right? Whatever time is available that we are allocating for spiritual activities, if we just divide it this way, some chanting, some reading, some kind of Sravanam Kirtanam, and some seva. Okay, when we do like that, organically, there is an intellectual growth, emotional growth towards Krishna, right? Emotional development also will be there, and intellectually we'll become more wise as time progresses. By following the culture of Krishna consciousness, these practices of Krishna consciousness, we'll become more and more mature and wise in our application of day-to-day life. So it's an organic growth. We may not exactly quantify. It's not like step-by-step thing. You sit and you chant. After 5 minutes, you start crying. Tears will not come like that. Okay. And you do Bhakti Shastri, by the end of Bhakti Shastri, you'll develop love of Godhead. You will come to Bhava stage, it will come to Prema stage. It doesn't happen like that. There is a qualitative development by following certain at least basic minimum quantity, prescribed quantity of the sadhana elements.
Aditi Acharya Mataji, your hand is raised for a long time. Would you like to ask? Unmute.
Prabhuji, when you told that Maya tricks us to induce pride in whatever sadhana we are doing, that point I'm not able to understand because like Maya is actually servant of God, right? And we are also eternal servants of God. So then why Maya does not help us? Like why she will force us to go to the opposite direction? That I'm not able to.
Maya is definitely servant of Krishna. We are definitely servants of Krishna. Maya helps us by testing our determination. Okay. For example, a student goes to the exam hall and says, teacher is supposed to help me. Why is the teacher troubling me by giving tough questions in the exam, by asking tough questions in the class? So it's not that teacher is troubling the student. Teacher is helping the student grow, testing the student. Similarly, Maya presents so many allurements, okay, and tests, so that we overcome the tests and become successful in the test, and then prove our determination and our enthusiasm and our zeal to serve Krishna. Then Maya also becomes happy, right? But that's her service. Her service is to test us. So we may not hate Maya, but we should just accept whatever she does as an opportunity for us to grow. Because when there are no tough tests, if developing love of Godhead is so easy, then there's no excitement there, right? So there should be some tests, and we should pass the tests. Then Krishna will understand how enthusiastic are we. Okay, Mataji.
Prabhu, we have 3 more questions, Prabhu. Prashanti Mataji, quickly please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, how to improvise our chanting, Prabhuji, because our mind wanders so much and everything is related on each other. So chanting, if we improve our chanting, when we read the scriptures, we understand better. And for even when we have the knowledge, we the chanting becomes better. So everything is interrelated. So how to improvise ourselves and release more, Prabhuji?
I am also struggling, honestly. I also need to improvise my chanting, undoubtedly. But to give an intellectual answer, we need to work with determination and we need to pray for Krishna's support. Drishtva parishramam Krishna kripaya asit swabandhani. So we need to wait for Krishna's kripa, mercy, and we need to put our endeavor, right? Parishrama from our side. Let me try to keep my mobile aside while I'm chanting. Secondly, let me try to sit with devotees while chanting, at least physically. External endeavor, let's put. So let me sit with devotees, keeping mobile aside, sitting in a proper posture, not sleeping. Okay. So at least these are basic minimum things. And also trying to sleep early so that I can get up early so that I don't become sleepy during japa. So there are some basic parameters that we can take care to express our enthusiasm to chant. Okay, and let me try to chant early in the morning only as much as possible, unless I have some other service at the time. If I keep my round spending till afternoon, till evening, till night, sometimes we see some people may start at 9 p.m. their first round or their 7th round. The quality of rounds also will get affected. Whole day, so many experiences, all the experiences will keep bombarding during our japa. So let me try to chant early in the morning as much as possible. See, there are like basic things that we can take care. Then once we sit there for chanting, let me try to hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So this much endeavor we need to put. Then we have to wait for Krishna's mercy. Krishna, please help me chant better. Okay.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you. Next.
Saraswatika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances on your lotus feet. Prabhuji, my question is when mind got distracted during japa, we need to find out is it emergency or distraction? How to know that the thought is emergency or this is distraction?
Thoughts are not emergencies, generally. Okay. If somebody is admitted in the hospital, they are in ICU. Okay. And we are chanting here. And the doctor immediately comes and announces, hey, there's some emergency, there's some kind of, the patient is showing some symptoms, they're breathing heavily, this or that. Immediately you need to attend to it, keep the bead bag aside, run there. That's an emergency, right? But when I'm chanting, I remember a quarrel that I had with another devotee yesterday. 4 rounds, I'm thinking about that only. Or 8 rounds, I'll think about that only. Or during the day, I have some emergency service. Whole day, I'm thinking about that. Whole 7 rounds, I'm thinking about that. So these are called distractions, right? So emergency comes once in a while. But every day, there's no emergency. Most of the time, it's distraction. Does it make sense, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat pranam.
Susivika Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat pranam. Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask about tolerance. It is said that every time it is said that we have to be tolerant. Like we are reading the chapters of the 3rd canto where Varahadev was also tolerant to Hiranyaksha's abuses. So, and in one of the lectures, I heard that you say that internally you have to forgive, so externally you tolerate. So, where do we draw that line? To what extent should we tolerate and forgive? How to understand?
Again, tolerance is a quality. There is no measurement. There is no, what to say, black and white rule or a rule book that defines this much is too much. Up to this point, it's fine. Okay, it cannot be quantified. However, there are certain guidelines. For example, one of the first lessons that Krishna spoke in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna is tolerance. He said, Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukhadukhadaha agama apayino anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Titiksha, he said, you tolerate. But when Arjuna said, I will tolerate all the injustices done by Duryodhan and party, I don't want their kingdom. I will go out and beg like a Brahmana. So let me just stop this battle. Krishna said, no, don't tolerate their injustice. Krishna told Arjuna, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkhadaha Tam Titikshasva Bharata. You tolerate happiness and distress. Krishna did not say don't tolerate injustice. Krishna said don't tolerate injustice. So Krishna told Arjuna, tolerate the distress of the death of your relatives, but don't tolerate the nonsense that they have done to you. Right? So Gita clearly teaches us that when somebody is behaving inappropriately, he is deviating from dharma, we should not tolerate it. Tolerance that is exhibited despite having knowledge of what is right and what is wrong is actually weak-heartedness. When you have the ability to confront, better confront, or at least leave the place. At least show some non-cooperation of not participating in it. That much intolerance we have to show. Okay, but tolerating adharma, tolerating inappropriate behaviors or attitudes, that's not recommended. Of course, we have to tolerate mistakes. When somebody does a mistake out of ignorance, out of innocence, out of lack of knowledge, we may tolerate, accommodate them, adjust. Okay, we may forgive. But if someone is knowingly doing some major blunders, we should not tolerate. And when we are especially in a responsible position to rectify them, correct them, then tolerance becomes an offense. Right? So we need to do the necessary thing. We need to take appropriate action to rectify the situation there instead of tolerating it. But sometimes things are beyond our ability. Okay, it's not within our capacity. It's not within our jurisdiction to correct a person or to adjust a situation or to implement what is right. Okay. So you have to tolerate a little bit because it's beyond our capacity. When the situation is beyond your control or beyond your jurisdiction, you may have to just cultivate this art of tolerance. But whether you tolerate somebody's mistake or not, whether you rectify a situation or not, holding any grudge or envy or bitter feelings or hatred or negativity towards someone is never recommended in Shastra, is never demonstrated by any of our great Vaishnavas. Prahlad never agreed to what Hiranyakashipu said, but never hated him also. Never accepted the teachings of Shanda and Navarka, but never disrespected them also. Okay, disapprove all the wrong things that are happening around us, but don't disrespect. Okay, that's the tolerance. That much tolerance we should have. Does it make sense, Mataji? Does it answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Purnanandini Mataji, you had a second question. You want to ask your question?
Mataji, it's 11:07. I think better you can answer the remaining questions. Someone else can answer.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for taking time out and answering all of our questions. We were just trying to extend it as much as possible. Thank you so much. So let us express our gratitude to Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu ki jai.